So, Jay, as we move on.
That's 78 away.
78 away.
All right, let's go. Maybe we get it today.
So you all were talking about it. They just wrapped up 8 days at the Greenbrier. We know not much went on. They had, one or two real authentic padded practices. Just from everything that you know, everything that you have gathered from the people that you talk to, who stood out at the Greenbrier over the 8-day period?
Yeah, I mean, I have to completely defer. Obviously, with camp being away.
Yeah.
I was unable to make the trip down there, so I didn't see anything. I saw clips.
Yeah.
Hard to say.
Yeah.
I mean, you're getting highlights or lowlights depending on where it is.
Right.
Did anybody stand out to you?
It's hard to say stood out, but Elijah Moore seemed to have a good week. You know, him and Denzel was really competing. I mean, Denzel sometimes eases into these things, and he seemed to be a little bit more locked in, a little bit more focused early on. So those were two. Who's the receiver I mentioned in the text? Darden.
Yeah.
Jalen Darden had a couple of nice plays where he flashed, and I think he's got a chance with the Marquise Goodwin injury, with the health situation.
Do we expect that Marquise is likely not going to play for
Personally,
the Browns?
I don't think so, no. No one is saying that. He was there all week. He was in a jersey and shorts and watching. I mean, blood clots are such a serious – it could kill you.
Sure.
Like, it's not anything to mess around. It ended Chris Bosch's career. Andy Varejao missed extended time, missed months and months and months with them. I understand it's a different sport. These are still athletes playing high-level sports. So I don't see any way that Goodwin plays this year with what's going on. But that's just me. Like, maybe
and
his
that could
situation
mean the end
is
of
different.
his career because
Absolutely.
at his age, he's been around for a while.
Did you see?
I hope it doesn't end that way for him.
It would be awful.
Did you see Anthony Schwartz seemed to be rotating in with the ones or twos? Did you see?
He got a lot of reps with the starters.
Yeah.
He dropped a pass in the open flat that he should have caught. It was not a perfect throw. It was a throw he should have caught. And to his credit, he was on the jugs after practice that day for, 10, 15 minutes, just catching. I don't think he's going to be on this team. David Bell was not impressive in this camp.
Do you think that from what we've seen before, when you take a guy in the third round, you almost get 2 years?
Yes, he'll make the team.
So but Schwartz's time is up.
Yeah.
He was taken the year before.
Yeah.
And we've just seen little to nothing from
Right.
him. Unless he has an exceptional camp from here and produces in the preseason games.
Yeah.
I just can't imagine he makes this roster.
No, I don't think so.
And I think Bell, they've upgraded at wide receiver. He might now be a fringe guy.
Yeah.
It's unlikely that they'll divorce him after 1 year, considering they took him at the third round and no one wants to admit that mistake. But he doesn't look to be a contributor.
No, and again, it's very, very early, so preface everything with that.
Sure.
But he did not stand out. He did not impress me at all at the receiver position.
DPJ, look okay to you?
Didn't do anything that really stood out. Didn't do anything
Good or
that was
bad either
awful.
way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was just sort of a guy that was there. And I would say that for a lot of them.
That's what a lot of I don't want to say most guys. A lot of guys come to camp, particularly the veterans that know they're not fighting for a spot, and they look at this as the necessary evil. We got to go through it. So it's really hard. That's why it's so hard to judge, because even if a rookie has an exceptional route against a veteran corner, you don't know what that, was the veteran corner just sort of going through the motions?
Right.
And so you really can't tell until you get into the preseason games.
Right.
And Jay, even then, with the newer mentality of how teams play their guys in the preseason, week 1 is a pop quiz.
Yeah.
It really is. For 32 teams, it's okay, what do we really have?
Right.
Yeah, what you really running. There was a camp. I think it was like my senior year. Like we had the longest camp in the NCAA, and our coaches used to highlight it all the time. And we were like, "That's not
a good thing."
Because we had one of the first games on the schedules, and we were playing this team, and it was like a division. It was Southeast Missouri State, and to this day, they were so worried about because the year prior, I tore my ACL. We lost a lot of starters in camp. And we lost to Northern Iowa. Northern Iowa is a good football team. Like Northern Iowa beats Iowa in Iowa State. Like they're not a regular Division II school or something like that. So we had lost to them. We had a lot of starters out there. Next year we were playing at like Southeast Missouri State. They were a small school, and I just remember being in camp and they brought us in there like July, and it was kind of the same thing with the Browns. And we're like, dude, we was in there the last 2 weeks of July. We bled into August, and we're sitting there going to practice, and then like 3 weeks into the practice, other schools started reporting it. I'm like, this is hell.
You wonder what kind of effect, if any, long term in the season this will have on the Browns. The fact that they started their marathon a week before everybody else. In some cases longer, right?
Well,
I think that's why they pared it down a little bit.
I think the early bye week is going to have more of a toll than this because their bye week is week 5. So it's a long stretch from 6 through 18.
It is.
After the bye. I think because this, again, like they had a day off on Wednesday. They had 4 practices, and then they had a day off Wednesday, and then Njoku had Thursday off too. So, like, and Miles had a day off. Joel had a day off. They were only fully padded up, I think, the one day that I was there, Saturday.
So they're being smart about it.
Yeah, like this was very, very light. Like this was country club light in terms of practice intensity a lot of the days.
Anything on the injury front? Anything that we should be alarmed at? Anything that, because I heard about a couple tweaks here and there, but nothing big.
No, I don't think it was anything serious. You know, Amari had missed a little bit of time, but he was back. He was in pads Friday and participated a little bit Saturday in the full
Looked
practice.
okay?
Yeah, I think he's fine.
What do you make of the Joe Burrow thing? Obviously, like you said, he doesn't need to be out there.
Right.
If there's a guy who's week 1 ready right now, it's Joe Burrow. He's ready. But it's still the fact that he's not going to be out there. Timing could be disrupted in week 1. I think it's a bit of a break for the Browns. I mean, you'd rather have him not out there than out there.
Sure, yeah. And, you know, I was talking to Zach Jackson, my partner at The Athletic, and I thought he had a really good point that the Bengals don't care about week 1. Like, Bengals are playing for the Super Bowl. They don't care for week 1.
Sure.
So it really should give the Browns an advantage.
Right.
And now when you factor in the Burrow injury now on top of it and some of the preparation time they'll take from it, now we'll see. I would imagine he'll be back for the week 1 practices, you know, after preseason ends and when the Bengals really dig in and lock in on the Browns, I would imagine.
What did they say,
Burrow,
a month?
Weeks, multiple weeks.
Yeah.
So I would factor it. We're probably not going to see him for a month, which
I mean,
is fine.
what I was thinking is you might see him for a series or 2 for the last preseason game.
Yeah.
And then he's done, obviously.
Yeah, I haven't seen their schedule. I don't know how much time they have between their last preseason game.
Well, aren't
and
all the
Browns.
last preseason games on the same day, so nobody has an advantage rest-wise?
Oh, I didn't look at that.
I think they're all on Saturday.
Okay.
The last Saturday of the preseason.
All right.
They used to be.
It wouldn't shock me if he doesn't take a snap at all in the
Really?
preseason.
Yeah.
I don't think.
I mean, he doesn't
really
need
needs
it,
No.
and you don't want to risk it.
No.
But the other thing, too, is the fact that there was a tweak there.
Yeah.
I would at least want to get him some kind of activity and reps so he doesn't come off of it cold again in week 1 and you have a
Right.
repeat.
Right.
I've had the calf blowout before. It feels like you've been sniped.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't even – I actually turned around. I thought someone had thrown a ball at my calf.
Yeah.
I felt a physical jolt against
Yeah.
my calf, and I couldn't put any weight on it at all.
And
None.
it's a
done.
miserable injury for pro athletes because it seems like it wouldn't be that big of a deal. You rest it and you're fine. But the high rate of re-aggravation is just enormous. That these guys, it's just something that just lingers. Especially, I know a bunch of baseball players that have a calf injury in April and then it triggers in June.
Yep, it
and
doesn't
now
go
you're out
away.
another 6 weeks.
Yeah.
So this could be something that lingers for them. Obviously, you know, it's good news for him. It's not an Achilles or anything that's going to knock him out for an entire season. But this is
I have to
something.
admit, my first thought when I saw it
was
that
Achilles.
season ending.
Yeah.
Because I thought it either could be an ACL recurrence or an Achilles.
A non-contact like that on a quarterback, especially, I thought it was Achilles right away.
The fact that he immediately felt the pain and registered with the brain, I can't put any weight on
Right,
this.
right, yeah.
That's what had me thinking that it could have been worse.
All right, so a couple things. Prayers to Burrow. But before we move on to the impact of the Greenbrier, I'm kind of shocked, to be honest, because I know, like, there's nothing that can overly be, you know, conquered or completed at the Greenbrier. But I think based on what we did see, I thought it was a couple interesting things that did stand out. I thought Elijah Moore, the way he was being used, you know, you look on Twitter, you see a lot of the videos, you see a lot of people who were out there, including Jason. He said that the matchups between him and Denzel Ward was fun. I hear David Njoku had, you know, a pretty solid time out there. So, like, when you look out there and you see these matchups one-on-one and man with Denzel Ward and Elijah Moore, Like, what did that do? Just based on the information that's available.
Well, when you look at, when you take a look at they're competing, I like the fact that Denzel Ward is competing. Like, like the last 2 years, I saw Denzel Ward, and it looked like he was in coast mode. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's he would be around the play. He'll be, in the vicinity. Guys catch balls in front of him a little bit. I think it's good to see him revitalized because I think just the demeanor of Joe Woods kind of just put a malaise on the team. And I'm not just saying that, like, you got to be a rah-rah coach and you got to cuss people out all the time or whatever. But I do know, like, there's a difference between having a coach that is kind of laid back and just, if you guys get beat, he'll make adjustments. But it's a different look from when a guy comes in and it's like, no, I need attack all the time. You got to be aggressive. I want you going after the football. Sometimes when you're in college, and I don't know if you guys noticed this, sometimes when you're in college, these guys are All-Americans and they're standouts, right? The way that they play then is different when they get to the league. It's just they play automatically with a different level of hunger. Also, you see the fact that they're less injured in college, right? People understand in college, like, this is my opportunity to get a bag.
Yeah. That's your audition.
That's the audition. They know good. You can't miss 4 games.
Unless you're the kind of player that already knows they've got high draft stock.
Right.
And they don't want to risk, and we've seen that at Ohio State in a couple of instances over the last couple of years where guys, you think they could probably play if it was for a paycheck.
But you know what they do? It's almost better to miss the whole season than it is to come out and play up and down play and then now you got to answer questions about that. So Denzel Ward, when he came out, he was jumping routes. Like, he was like playing the football. Like, no, I'm a playmaker. And I think what Jim Schwartz is instilling in people, which I like, is it's great to have an assignment football team. But what I need is playmakers. I need guys that's going to get me that ball back. I need guys that's going to get sacks and turnovers and takeaways.
And that competitive edge, too.
The competition is what you want to see.
I don't know that there are 2 positions in sports that are more adversarial. I mean, obviously pitcher and hitter in baseball, but wide receiver and defensive back in football is one of the most adversarial position-on-position battles we have in sports. And one of the things I love about that is, in fact, Eli Apple signed in Miami, right? Tyreek Hill immediately tweeted out, practice going to be fun Monday.
Right, look.
I love that. I mean, if I'm a teammate, I'm like, okay, let's see this.
Yeah.
And I've covered teams before. It happened a lot in Tampa Bay where those Rondé Barber, Keyshawn Johnson matchups can all of a sudden inspire tight end and a linebacker to start knocking heads a little harder.
Yep.
And that raises all boats when you get that competition going through camp.
You're going to see that. So here's what I liked. I liked that Stefanski did this because he made them run for, fighting and stuff, right? And the reason he's doing that is there's going to be a knee-jerk reaction, says the Duke of Knee-Jerk, that when they do them scrimmages with Philadelphia, if somebody get beat, they going to want to fight. And he's like, no. That's not masking that. Do not go up to Philadelphia and try to be fighting up there and get, because remember they did it in Indianapolis.
A couple of years ago
in Indy. They went up there and they got the brakes beat off of them, and guys was getting locked up on one-on-one pass rush. He was getting 8 up on 7-on-7, and then the next thing is we're going to fight. You can't get anything out of that. We need to get tape and we need to get film. We need to get better. So I'm glad he told him, listen, don't be doing all this extra stuff. Yes, everyone fights a little while, but stop. Let's get some real work in here.
That was Freddie being completely overmatched and not having any idea what he was doing.
It was Freddie being a high school football coach instead of an NFL
Turn his hat
coach.
around backwards and say,
Exactly.
let's get after it.
And it was like internally applauded after the first one.
Yeah.
And so what did you expect all the other guys were going to do?
Just ridiculous.
I was there. I think, were you there?
No, I wasn't there.
I was there that day, and I remember talking to Tony Dungy because he was there observing and talking to all of his buddies on the Colts. And Tony and I were standing next to each other when one of them broke out. And Tony, in his, without saying a word, disgust, just shook his head and said, "This is Bush League."
Yeah.
And I knew exactly what he was talking about. Everybody knew that it was coming from the Browns sideline, and Freddie was absolutely, He's the guy that lit the Molotov and threw it into the middle
Yep.
into the middle of the pile.
Yep.
Don't do that.
And it was funny. It was kind of applauded. A lot of the media members were like, "Oh, this team's going to be badass and tough." And I just remember thinking, this is going to get sideways.
And how many
early.
penalties did they have in week 1?
Yeah,
13,
and all the way
14?
through. It was
And all
Freddie's
the way
trademark.
through.
They
Yep.
got smoked.
Non-disciplined.
They got smoked by their like number 2s in the game. Like the game came around like the next day, and Indianapolis was just
Yeah, they were like, "That's okay. You can win the battle. We'll win
Yeah.
the war."
Yeah.
it was
And they
crazy.
did. Earl.
Before we transition, I got to show you this tag board, Jay, because I'm not sure if you've seen it. Let me tell you who else stood out to me. James Hudson. Because he let Ogbo know this is what happened when you play too much. Now watch, the video's going to start from the beginning once it circles back around. I thought this was hilarious, but the biggest standout right here. Check this out.
Oh, that was some little kid stuff.
I don't know what
That was
he
some little
thinking.
kid stuff.
To smack a man and then run.
That's some little kid stuff, bro. That's
Well, I think he's being told right now that's not how we do it. Right?
come on, bro.
That's not how they do it anywhere. Like,
No.
you don't have to be told.
Where did you
that.
get that from? Who told you that?
I mean, that's insane. I don't know that I've ever seen anything like that.
Man, it was crazy. So listen, before we move on,